Okay, welcome back to another episode of the ABCs of ERP and Beyond, where we dive into the world of enterprise resource planning and provide practical tips, strategies for successful ERP implementations. And in today's episode, we'll be discussing the top six, we got a bonus one, ERP implementation challenges that businesses and organizations commonly face, and we'll be sharing some effective approaches to overcome them. We expect this to be a two-part episode, so we'll discuss three in detail, and then you need to wait a couple of weeks for part two, where we'll discuss the other three. So let's get started, and as ever, I'm joined by my fellow co-host, Nirav Shah. Welcome back.
Peter, how are you? I'm doing very well. Um, been an interesting, fun weekend. Birthday just passed, so
Nice.
feel definitely younger as the days go on.
Fragile? Are
Um,
you feeling fragile?
yeah,
That sounds like.
yeah, fragile is probably the right word. I think that describes me exactly. Um, but definitely had fun time with the kids and wife, and excited for this episode. The top five ERP challenges during implementations. There's probably over 100, to be honest with you, in different challenges that you could face. These projects are big heart transplants for organizations, right? It's not just saying, hey, we're going to replace our current, we're going to upgrade our email to Outlook, or things like that. This affects like every part of the business. So um, I think this is going to be a fun episode. There's some pretty pretty fun stories that I have to share in regards to overcoming these implementation challenges. So I think we could jump right in if that's all right with you.
Yeah, let's get started. So, number one, I have this is actually quite early on an ERP implementation project, I guess. So, ERP requirements. So, the actual documenting of what the business requires out of its ERP. So, where are the challenges surrounding this?
It's, trying to get a feel of what the business current state is, right? So that's step one in this particular um, option of getting your ERP requirements is understand what the current state is, and then getting to what the future state is. That this whole step right now, if it's not done properly, could could pose a threat to the success of the ERP implementation. You need to know where you're starting from, right? And a lot of times, the executives, you're talking about CFOs, COOs, and upper management, they have an idea, kind of a loose idea, I feel like sometimes, of how the business is running, right? They're more strategy up
Yeah.
here. The tactical stuff is done down here with the people on the floor that are moving inventory, that are moving the boxes, that are, doing shop floor and collecting that data that's prompting this ERP project, right? So it's understanding down at that level what is happening, okay? So what the current state is. Um, and then looking at, is that current state working? Does it need to be updated? And how much does it need to be updated, right? How more efficient do you want to get? A lot of times, a lot of companies have this false hope with ERP systems saying, let's just put it in and it's going to solve all of our problems right away. Like immediately, it's just going to solve our problems. It's going to do everything that we want it to do. But what is it that you want it to do?
Mm.
If you ask that question, right? What exactly is it that you want it to do? Now, it could do a lot of things. The ERP system could do a lot of things out of the box. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to do them. You need to understand what you want to do and then find the right system to do what you want it to do, right? So that really is a critical step in the ERP requirements gathering phase. Take time, take a lot of time, understand that current state from if it's from onboarding a new customer, onboarding a new vendor, applying credit terms, doing your order entry, doing your purchasing, your planning, your warehousing control, your manufacturing, distribution processes, shipping, receiving, invoicing. Understand all that, what's happening now, and then think about, well, what do we want to do? And we know what we're doing now. What do we want to do, right? And then let's find the right system fit. Let's find the right partner fit to get us there.
Yeah. I've
Don't
seen
just
this
assume,
I've seen
you
this as
know,
a two-way street because for me, I think really the business needs to do that before they go out and approach potential vendors. I've been stuck on calls where, an implementer of a certain ERP would show you all the bells and whistles that the system can do, and I'm sat there thinking,
yeah,
I don't need any of that,
yeah,
you know.
right?
And then you're just
Yep,
wasting each other's time. Like you're showing me a load of stuff around manufacturing. I don't do any
yeah.
manufacturing. I just purchase finished goods.
Well, exactly. But if you have a list now, you have a short list of this is what I want from my ERP requirements, phase and my internal discussions. This is what I want now. That conversation is a lot more powerful,
Mm,
and that's going to drive change internally for you to find the right solution fit.
yeah.
Instead of saying, "Hey, Mr. ERP partner, show me what you got," and now you're excited because you see things that, oh yeah, these are like pipe dreams, right?
Mm,
Nice
hmm
to haves, right? That are not practical because you don't have the right talent pool, you don't have the right infrastructure, you don't have the right people to do all this work, but you're getting fed all these dreams, right? With the partner that's designed to sell you, right, all these processes because it's like the latest and greatest thing. Go and do it. You should do it. Everyone's doing it. Jump on board. But that's not really practical in reality on how you need to be operating your business,
mm,
right? You need to, as a customer, you need to drive that conversation in
yeah.
order for you to overcome these implementation challenges. Because the last thing you want to do is get involved in a solution that someone up here has basically been sold this dream, but
Hmm.
that dream's not practical.
And I think this is where you really need to get everyone involved in the company to feel that they're adding value and they are part of this as well. I know we've got something around change management. Um, but I think really to find the requirements, as you say, like the people at the top are more strategic. They're not on the shop floor. They might not necessarily know the requirements of the business because they're too detached from it. So I think a really good tip here for ERP requirements, at least requirement building, is speaking to every department, the people closest to the work. And I know when I've been part of an ERP implementation before, we've gathered user stories and said, look, I'm an account manager. I need the system to do this, this, and this. And then I'm a purchaser. I need to see current inventory. I need to see this, this, and this. And then you can start building your ERP requirements around, okay, so we need to focus on manufacturing to be able to do this. Sales need to see this from their customers. Customer service need to see this, log of interactions or whatever. The warehouse needs to be able to see current outstanding picks or whatever it happens to be. So gathering those user stories from each department and then building your requirements from there at least gives you a foundation to go, right, here's all of the
Yeah.
requirements. And then maybe from there you go, right, this is a must to have. This is a
Yep.
phase one, non negotiable. And then
Hmm.
siphon out some of the nice to
Yeah.
haves, like, okay,
Yeah.
it's not critical for the business. That could be a phase
Right.
two.
Right.
Um, and distill down really the true core requirements in order to run your business and operate it.
Right.
That then will become
Yeah.
your requirements. And then I guess from there, you would approach someone like yourself as an implementer and go,
Hmm.
right, this is my
Yeah.
business.
Right.
These are my requirements.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You always want to be as a customer, you want to be in the driver's seat, and you know have because you're as a decision maker and the customer. I look at it this way. You know, the decision maker on the customer side is representing the users in that
Mm,
company, right? And their user requirements have to be clearly, understood and defined because, as a customer, you want to make sure your users are happy, and you're giving them the tools to be successful at their job at the end of the day, right?
hmm
It's a two-way street for sure, but I think Peter, you nailed it. I think the way you said it is you need to have this plan, to in place where you start defining what's non-negotiable, what's a need to have because I have it. It's an industry compliance thing for me. It's a regulatory thing. It's a customer facing requirement for me on how I ship my products to my customer, or how I have to take in my orders and things that have to be on my invoices, or, whatever the electronic maybe communication is. That's not, I need that. Or a nice to have, right? Oh, a nice to have a customer portal. You know, how easy is it for us to integrate that, back into the system afterwards, right? Because you need to be also thinking about that stuff is, yeah, this is phase one of an ERP implementation, right? You're getting into an ERP project because it's a technology advancement for your business, right? I don't think ERP should be looked at, oh, it's a static thing anymore.
Mm.
Like anything else, apps update, right?
Yep.
You have all these phones on your apps and they're constantly updating. There's new functions and software and functionality features always coming out there. ERP needs to be thought of in that same light because there's a lot of functionality being added constantly. Are you finding the right publisher that's adding the right processes and functionality that are going to affect your business and your vertical and your customers correctly? You have to
Mm-hmm.
think of it as
Mm-hmm.
an ongoing process. It's a technology.
Mm-hmm.
It's a software, but it's a technology that's going to continuously improve, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to continue to improve with that technology.
Mm-hmm. Let's move on from there then, because this is quite kind of leading towards the next point here. Point number 2: data migration and integration. So we've done the
Mhm.
business requirements. The business will already have some back catalog of data, transaction history. Um, Even if they're not coming from an ERP, they will have a customer list. They'll have
Yep.
somewhere they're storing, maybe even in an Excel spreadsheet, current
Yep.
inventory. So they've got some data somewhere. So
Mhm.
point number 2, the challenges involved here for data migration. Let's start breaking down some of this. So where do we start here?
Yeah, I think complexities, understanding, what the current state of your data is. How complex is it, right? What gaps do you have in your current data that you're not able to see? Do you have any blind spots in your data, right? That's causing issues in different analysis, right? Or is your data just a complete mess? There's no structure, there's no rhyme or reason to it, right? You need to be honest with that data. You need to, really look at it and say, well, this is good or this is bad, or we have trouble here. And, you know, finding the right solution that will be able to support that data. Okay, now data really from the standpoint is you could, and almost any solution is going to be able to fit the data, right? With some massaging and
Mm,
understanding is you have the right solution that you're picking up and want to implement at the end of the day. But if you don't know where you want your data to be future state, right, it's going to be kind of be a problem because you need to understand data in order to properly model your new system, the new ERP system, right? So take time to evaluate, what is the current state of our data? What is these data? What is it? We've been capturing all this stuff, right? This is what we feel is how we should set up an item number. And we have all this stuff that we're capturing, but what is that? What does that mean, right? How do we use this, right? Start documenting some of that. Or, yeah, we capture all this stuff. We don't need a quarter of it. Like, it's not adding any value. We've captured it, but we've never reported on this. Why are we continuing to use it? Is it worth even bringing that forward? So I think complexities of that, looking at, between legacy and new is an important starting point, right? And then once you've identified that data, we're going to talk about some of this stuff. You got the mapping, the validations, the nice to have, need to have, wants of that data is all going to be, really, really important. But especially if you're coming off Excel spreadsheets, you're coming off of another system. Maybe you just got acquired, right, from another company, and now you have to merge your data together into a new ERP system. Well, how does that look? Right? A lot right now is such a hot market. A lot of companies are being acquired, right, left and right. So they have to look at data not just from the standpoint of the specific company, but what is that data doing across multiple companies now?
mm,
How do we join that data? How do we make it more cohesive and you know, make sense out of the data? We're now bringing multiple companies together. We could grow that
mm-hmm.
merger.
Yep. And I think this is where we talk about data mapping, don't we? The how we join seemingly unconnected data together into one cohesive environment. Um, or maybe they're siloed and they're in different environments. But if you've got companies coming together, it's what do we map to make it seemingly one source of, as we say, one source of
Right.
truth. Um,
Right.
I'm leading a project at the moment for my employer that's looking at implementing a Power BI dashboard, but this is multi locations, global locations, all reporting at the moment into Excel. And it's about
Mm.
getting all of this data into one. And I tell you what, 80% of my time has been dedicated to mapping, cleansing the data, finding
Yeah.
gaps, getting consistency, and then being able to map it together, because what one person calls one attribute of data is completely different to someone else. And
Totally.
this is a big challenge, how we map this data and get a consistent approach to the data.
Hmm.
And we know that,
Yeah.
especially with AI, I would say around the corner, but we've already turned down that street with AI.
Yeah.
Data is becoming more and more important, but with the insights that machine learning algorithms can do, and AI, and all these kind of things, it will always be directly linked to the quality of the data in the first place. And if it's not
Yep.
mapped correctly and it's not validated, um, and regularly maintained as well, because data can quickly go out of date. If those things aren't done, there's going to continue to be a challenge, not just for the
Hmm.
ERP implementation, but over the years. So this is,
Hmm.
I would say, one of the biggest challenges, because it's not really a one-time exercise.
Right.
The
Right.
biggest challenge is that initial data migration from maybe your old ERP into a new one, or maybe this is
Right.
your first new ERP. Both have benefits. Maybe it's a little bit easier when it's not having to be transferred from an old one in terms of structure.
Yeah.
Maybe a company that's not going from one ERP kind of has more of a blank canvas. That will always be the biggest
Yeah.
challenge. But don't
Yeah.
think this is one and done. It's
Yeah.
going to be a continual thing that you need to keep up with.
Yeah. I got a question for you, Peter. So let's say if it's a small company, right? And they have, they have a sales manager, they have a purchasing manager, they have inventory manager, right? They don't have an IT person who should be involved in making sure the data, meets the organization goals.
I think
Who should do
really,
that?
if there's no dedicated IT resource, I think it should be everyone, because
Yeah.
otherwise you end up going down rabbit holes of tribal knowledge. Your sales
Hmm.
guy is going to have the best data for maybe a CRM.
Yeah.
Your warehouse are going to be closer to the inventory management. So I think it's everyone's responsibility.
Yeah, I think I agree with that for sure. When you don't have an IT, right, dedicated resource, and I think that's kind of common more and more, especially in the SMB market, where everything's on the cloud, is all managed services with the one subscription fee now, right? You're talking about Business Central and Acumatica, it's all on the cloud stuff. A lot of ERP publishers are on there, but now customers that don't have that IT manager, right? There needs to be some sort of, internal communication on what is our data migration goals as an organization. So that's going to be coming up with all the data, department by department, and saying, okay, how do we piece this together to make a complete story,
Hmm.
the correct story
Hmm.
for the company, and we bring forward into the ERP system. So you're right. I think it's not just a one person. At least I know I'm in agreement with you. It's not just one person that should be tasked for that. I think everyone has responsibility on the customer side to make the proper decisions that make sense for the business from a data migration perspective.
Yep, I think you should probably have someone that leads this as a project. Um,
Hmm.
you know, a data kind of project manager that orchestrates between the departments. But I think you really need that collaboration between everyone.
Yeah.
In terms of data, I'm going to ask
Yeah.
you this question again. I know that we've spoken about this on previous episodes, but how do we decide what? I guess there's two parts of this question: the must-have versus the nice-to-have, and what do we bring in to a new system? So what do we leave in an old system? What's important to migrate?
I think the must have is always driven by you. First of all, you have your regulatory government compliance, regulation, right? Taxes. These are all must have stuff. You
Yep.
need that to do business, right? Um, then you have customer facing, right? I think that's number one. Customer facing data. What's a necessary thing there? Item numbers, obviously, right? Certain subcodes,
Yeah.
and all this. Where in order for you to do business in with that customer in that industry, you need to have this data present in the system, right?
Hmm.
That goes into the vendor side, right? In order for you to purchase from this vendor or these sets of vendors, you need to have X data available, cross references, subcodes, right? Could be revision numbers, right? All these different things, purchase prices, quantity breaks, right? Uh, all these different things you need in place in order for you to do business with the vendor. Then you get into what I would say kind of goes both ways is needs to have and nice to have is different type of departmental reporting internal, right? Different type of dashboards. Um, you have different type of maybe margin reports that you run that has kind of a fine line between need to have and is wants essentially.
Hmm.
Um, so I think it starts there. I think it really is driven by first, where you do business, what country and how many countries, and obviously you got the tax laws there. Then who you do business with, right? Customers and vendors, right? And then it's internal, right? Managerial reports and different ways, business metrics is, I think, that you have. And then I think the bottom is the departmental reports that you kind of
Yeah.
get to a lot into, wants and what's necessary, from them, utilization, effectivity, all these different type of things from a
Yeah.
department level, which I think, but I think that's kind of what I look at from a hierarchy perspective of how, you would try to come up with the best strategy on need to haves or must have, need to haves, and then wants.
Yeah. So let's move on to our third point. So to recap, we have looked at the requirements, what the business requires from its ERP, an assessment of the business, and what the expectations are from the ERP side. We've looked at the challenges around data migration and what we bring in. So the business is kind of set. It knows what it wants. It's got its data ready for an ERP. Now we need to choose a vendor. So, what are the challenges around vendor selection, and what should we be thinking about when we're looking to partner up with an implementation company?
Yeah, there's a lot, right? I'm in this industry, I'm in this business, and we resell ERP solutions, we resell Microsoft Business Central and Acumatica. There's a lot of vendors out there, partners out there, right? And now you have a wide selection of publishers out there, not just the ones that we resell, right? Business Central and Acumatica, but you also have Odoo, you have Oracle NetSuite, you have SAP, you have you name it, right? And within that, you have different tiers of ERP, different solutions. You have your your entry level, right? Then you have your SMB level, right? Then you have your enterprise level, right? There's solutions within all that, right? Um, so first you got to figure out where your business sits. Do you consider your business entry level, like you're just starting up, or do you feel like you're more SMB? You're within like maybe 15 million up to maybe 150 million, 200 million dollars, maybe even higher, right? Or do you feel like you're enterprise, right? You're a global entity. You have offices all around the world. You have complex business requirements, right? First, you have to figure out where you fit into, right? And then you look at the solutions within that model, right? Then you find a partner. Then you find a list of partners that offer services that will implement in those different solutions itself. And then that's where it gets interesting is when you talk about finding the right partner, right? Because maybe you're kind of down to two or three different solutions, and now publishers, I mean, right? And now you're looking at the right partner that's going to implement you. A lot of criteria, a lot of decisions go into that. First is, does that partner have, how much experience does that partner have from a core competency in your industry,
Yeah.
right? In your vertical. Then it's, you know, this partner, how local are they to you, right? Or how far away are they to you, right? What's their support like? I'll tell you what, probably 9 times out of 10, when customers leave a partner, is because of poor support. That I feel like should be the number one question you should be asking. There's going to be a lot of partners out there that are going to be able to implement. Maybe not as well, maybe they can, but what does their support look like, right?
Mm.
Because after you go live, you're going to have day-to-day things that come up, and you can't be
Yeah.
waiting on your partner to, give you an answer within a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. You need a response back within 24 to 48 hours, right? A lot of implementations fail because of poor support. A lot of partner customers leave their partners because of poor support. Support is huge, right?
Hmm.
So, when I look at the top three, when looking at vendor selection, I look at industry experience in that vertical. Okay. I look at the partners, um, essentially the partners' years of service, right? How close they are to you, how local they are to you. I always,
Yeah.
it's always better when you have a local partner because, or even regionally, like here we're in the Midwest, Chicago, right? People love it that some of our customers that are here in the Midwest, we could get to them within like if they call us in the morning, right, we could get to them next morning without a flight, right? We could drive to them within 5 hours,
Yeah.
3 hours, 2 hours, right? Um, and their support, right? How good is their support?
Yeah.
Essentially, at the end of the day, I think that's what it takes to find the right partner is to go through these interviews and questions to find the right fit for you, essentially.
So when you say support, let's break it down for ease of what we're talking about. So what support expectations are there? Because we're not really expecting the implementation partner to be there at a drop of a hat, constantly training people. So what is expected of an ERP partner when we say good support? So what do we want?
Yeah, I think a partner that's going to bring other ideas to the table,
Okay.
not just tell you, hey, yeah, you have an issue and it's going to require customization right away. But hey, yeah, it's unique in the way you're doing something, but here's a workaround. Here's how other businesses in your industry do it in this system.
Right.
Okay, well, those two don't work. Well, okay, then we have to look at the customization route. But bringing that proper supportive, cons consultative, if you will, type of approach, right? Not just to take your hub desk ticket and automatically assume that we need to do a customization, or we need to go ahead and just do it. I think it's yeah, Mr. Customer, let's have a quick conversation. This is how other customers do it in your industry. This is how we feel is most successful to do it in the system. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe 3, 4 different routes. And then let's look at maybe, okay, let's develop a more custom solution for you. Or hey, we found a bug in the system. This is a true bug. Well, let's turn, how is it affecting? Are you down? You can't ship, you can't invoice, right? That's level one issues for us, and we turn that around within a few hours, right? Um, or hey, you need to add a field to a report. Okay, well, you're technically not really down. You can still ship. You
Mm.
could still do things, right? Okay, well, we're going to give you a time frame, and it's going to be done within 48 hours, right? And we're going to stick to that time frame. If we can't, we're gonna be super open and transparent about it and say, hey, we weren't able to deliver this, and it's going to take maybe another 24 hours. We're still looking into it,
Yeah.
right? So it's those type of issues. You have the level one, level two, level
Mm-hmm.
three, right? Type of issues, but all those should be taken into account, saying, well, what's better for you? How is this going to help you at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the tickets that are coming in. So I think that's where you want a partner that is going to continue to understand your business and provide that value you're looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
To help grow your business. Because I look at ourselves and our company is we're not just here to show you how to put in a sales order. We're not here to show you how to put in a purchase order. We're showing you how to put in an order that's better for your customers so your customers are happy with your customer service and continue giving you more orders at the end of the day.
Mm.
That's different than just putting in a sales order. That
Yeah.
mindset for us is different,
Yeah.
right? So we want to be able to provide ideas and approaches that's going to extend out to your customers, where your users are going to provide the ultimate customer service experience to get that customer to order more at the end of the day, to help your bottom line and provide the value back to your customer.
Yeah.
It's just not putting in a sales order,
Yeah.
right? So
I,
that's where I see, a vendor selection is important.
I think also that the client has to also be receptive to this. It's great having a partner that is coming up with ideas, alternative ways,
Yeah.
maybe opening up alternative approaches that the system can do natively. That's all fair and well, but you need the client also to be receptive and flexible,
Yeah.
and not just stick to the way they've always done it, or no, we don't do it that way. They need to be open to these ideas as well, and acknowledge that you've got a fresh pair of eyes looking at your business that's got all of the expertise of ERPs and other clients within your industry of how they're doing things. They're coming at you with an idea and going, look, if you just tweak your process slightly, all of this pain goes away. So again, this for me is a two-way street, because you can say you've got all the support in the world. If you're working with a client that's just not receptive to it, you need to reassess that kind of relationship. It works both ways for me.
Absolutely. For sure. For sure. Like I said, ERP is a technology nowadays. It's not just a static system. It's going to continue to evolve like any other technology, and you have to approach it that way with that mindset to get the most value out of it.
Mm-hmm. And the business will be evolving. Businesses aren't static. Markets change. We've just been through a pandemic.
Yep.
Things change. We've got supply chain disruptions. People having to work slightly differently. Even physically, people are now remoting in rather than coming into the office. So all of these are changing. So without that strong collaboration and partnership with your vendor, it's going to be really difficult, and you're going to constantly have these challenges if that strong bond isn't established.
Right.
Good. 3 solid points. There are 3 more, but we are vastly running out of time here. So I think we should save the other 3 for part 2.
I think so. Yeah. Yep.
Good. So
what we got talking about this. So
what have we got coming up in part 2? We need to talk about the change of this heart transplant. I think is probably the biggest challenge here, and how we deal with that, and how we keep projects on board. I know we want to talk about that in terms of scope creep and
I have a really real life example of managing scope creep and customizations for an implementation that we recently took live. So excited to share that story with the audience here on the next episode. So stay tuned, everybody. It's gonna be a fun episode.
Nice. A wealth of knowledge as always, Nirav Shah. So thank you for joining me.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And I will catch you on the next episode.
Excellent. Thank you.
Take it easy.